Hey guys, welcome to Cosmic Road. Hope you're having a great Sunday. Let me know how you're doing in the comments. Yeah, we have some good stuff to go over. There's a really great article by Chris Sharp we have to talk about, talking about AARO, the state of disclosure. Really awesome. But let me know if you can hear the mic, if everything's going good with the mic and everything. But yeah, this is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, share on social media, and let me know what you think in the comments. All right. And yeah, all right. What's up? Okay, get in here. Sounds like everything's going good. Hey, Grandmaster, what's going on? All right. Thank you, Muggy. Miyagi. Excellent. I like that. Wave Apex. Cool. All right. Well, let's just talk about this new article that just dropped today by Chris Sharp, on Liberation Times. Chris Sharp has been really on this. He's been one of our best reporters on the whole UFO issue, and I put the link in the description so you can read along with me if you want to, and we'll see how far into the article I get. And I'll be trying to answer any questions or talk about any topics you want to talk about as we go. So feel free to leave whatever questions or comments you want in the chat, and I'll try to get to them all if I can. Yeah, here we go. Critical concerns arise over the U.S. government's UFO office amid uncertainty surrounding its director's future. Yeah, right. Farewell, Sean Kirkpatrick, the lovely Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick. The U.S. government's UAP office was established with the aim of ensuring transparency for the public. Well, I think it was set up that way. I think the people that had the idea for AARO did have that aim for it, but it was already being subverted by the control group, even when it was still the UAP task force. But yeah, the Congress people that actually got that pushed that forward and created the language for AARO, I do believe they were sincere in doing that. But people like Ronald Moultrie and Kirkpatrick got involved, and the powers behind them. And yeah, it all went south before it could even get started. So Chris goes on. However, AARO now grapples with an increasing number of accusations related to concealment. If its purpose was solely to enhance public perception, it appears to have fallen short. Yeah, no doubt. The AARO's second annual report, unveiled in October 2023, was initially leaked to Defense Scoop, and additional insights, along with exclusive comments from the lovely Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, were shared with CNN. Of note, Defense Scoop was given the exclusive scoop on Deputy Defense Secretary Kathleen Hicks, assuming direct oversight of the AARO in August 2023. Is it the AARO? Is it AARO? I see articles that call it AARO. I see articles that call it the AARO. I think just AARO is fine, but yeah. But I get it because office is the noun, so the office. This week, many defense reporters, including a correspondent from Defense Scoop, were extended an invitation to pose questions to Dr. Kirkpatrick. This invitation followed the introduction of the new secure reporting feature on its website, implemented through Google Forms. Liberation Times inquired with the DoD about why Defense Scoop received the AARO's recent report ahead of other publications. Spokesperson Susan Goff provided the following response. I have nothing for you on that. Yeah, right. I love it. Yeah, typical Susan Goff. This all seems to indicate a new media strategy being implemented by the DoD following Hicks' newly mandated oversight role, as stipulated by the National Defense Authorization Act of 2023. Yeah, I had some hope for Kathleen Hicks and that she would be able to control Sean Kirkpatrick a little better, to force him to be a little more honest and transparent, but that has not happened at all. He has continued on his merry way, doing what he does. And, obviously he is a disinformation agent. He is deep in the control group, or at least some layer of the control group. I don't know how deep that is. I tend to doubt that he's been on a UFO going to other planets or anything. But I mean, who knows, right? Who knows? Let me know in the comments how deep you think Sean Kirkpatrick is involved in all of this. Is he assisting in abductions? Is he going to other planets? Is he hopping on UFOs, catching a ride to Venus and Mars? I tend to doubt it. I think that, he's just surface level reverse engineering and working on technology and that kind of thing. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong. This all seems to indicate a new media strategy. Yeah, that's right. The DoD has now become more assertive with its media strategy, although it remains relatively tight-lipped in commenting on the changes encountered by the U.S. military in their interactions with mysterious objects wielding apparent air superiority. Apparent, my foot. Yeah, they have total air superiority, guys. But whatever. Commenting to the Daily Mail before the release of AARO's delayed first report, one anonymous intelligence source stated, they're patting themselves on the back that they've resolved over half of them. But we don't give a crap about the ones they've resolved. Yeah, there's balloons up there, and balloons are sometimes mistaken for UAP. But there are S loads of classified videos that are pretty profound and pretty clear. They don't want to talk about this stuff because they really, really don't know what the hell they are. That's the truth. Just saying. Ah, perils of doing a live stream. Okay, yeah, so I take issue with that statement. I really do. Because the anonymous person, possibly a congressperson, said they don't want to talk about it because they don't know what they are. Well, they do seem to know what they are, at least some of them. I mean, they're shooting at them. Whether you believe the more fantastical stuff that I've reported on in the past about the control group working with beings and some service people going up in UFOs and stuff like that, as reported by people like Terry Lovelace, who Lou Elizondo has called credible. Even if you don't want to go there, it's hard to dispute that we are shooting at them and sometimes seeming able to bring them down, as crazy as that sounds. Sometimes with exotic weaponry like energy weapons, sometimes even with mundane weapons. Uh, as nuts as that sound, how can these ships be brought down by mundane weapons? Well, apparently it happens, but so we're shooting at them. So we know something about them, right? So yeah, but then there is the more fantastical stuff that does seem to be true. And if we are going up in ships with these guys, then clearly we know who they are, or at least some of who these guys are. We may not know the full picture, but we know at least some of the players, and we're working with some of the players against other players. So yeah, but I don't expect people in Congress to have gotten that deep into it. The strategy, which centers on emphasizing cases that could be resolved, is evident in the AARO's most recent report. A case closure report featured in its appendices references a sighting over the western USA reported by military personnel, which was evaluated by the AARO as a commercial aircraft traveling on well-established air corridors. Okay, it's just a conventional aircraft. And the UAP office has also committed to disclosing another successfully resolved case in the upcoming months. Liberation Times has learned that the AARO will soon share information regarding a transmedium UAP object or incident. Susan Goff informed the Liberation Times that a previously reported transmedium object has been resolved and the case details are being prepared for public release in the near future. So they're going to debunk another one of these known UFO videos. I'm thinking of that Homeland Security video, or yeah, I think it was it in Puerto Rico, somewhere like that, where you can see the object skimming, going along the land, and then it dips into the water, and then comes out, and it seems to split into two objects. So they're going to attempt to debunk that. And, that will be interesting debunk. Some people have said, well, it's a Chinese lantern or something like that. Well, who knows what the truth is? I'm sure a lot of these objects can be explained by, some mundane explanations. But, like they just said in the quote above, we're not interested in those. We're interested in the ones that can't be explained. Give me. Nah, got the sinus is acting up on me, guys. But let me see. Let me see what y'all's thoughts are. Let's see. A lot of comments already. Hey guys, welcome to Cosmic Road. If you're just joining us, this is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Hit like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. If you are so motivated, feel free to support the channel with the super chat. That'd be awesome. And if you do want to prioritize a question so I can be sure to get to it, be sure to do a super chat so I will see your question, first. But I'm going to try to get to all the questions anyway. Grandmaster says, I'm a part of Steve Bassett's team. Oh, cool. My dad is best friends with him, and they made the 2013 Citizens Hearing on Disclosure Briefing Congress on UFOs and alien bodies and electromagnetics. Yeah, the electrogravitic stuff is really interesting. I'm fascinated by that. But yeah, it's cool that you're part of Steve Bassett's team. That's awesome. He's doing some good work. He's got some claims though that big things are coming, and I hope he's right. I hope he's right. Let me know if you have any inside scoop on that if you're part of his team. Ben Love says, appreciate your vids. Thanks, you, man. Appreciate that. Bob Hatchett says, NSA redacted message. I love it. Hey, Christian, how's it going? Howdy. George says, aloha from UAP Society. Well, aloha. Are you out of Hawaii? Man, I've always wanted to go there. Kill Dragon says, I want to know more about the ancient UFO Bob Lazar talked about on Joe Rogan. You and me, brother. Yep, I would love to know more about that. And it doesn't seem to be the only one. No, there seems to be multiple of these things. And, Lou Elizondo was talking about, he used the analogy of finding a 747 in King Tut's tomb. Clearly, that was some sort of analogy about finding alien or high technology in an historical site. I don't know if he's talking about finding an actual UFO in a tomb or something like that. But that seems to be kind of what he was hinting at. Maybe he was talking about more of the Atlantis stuff. But again, if that's true, then I think that technology also ultimately derived from non-humans. Space Lemonade says, okay, we got a super chat. Thank you, guys. Who is that? Do you have a question? Yeah, Christian. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Christian. Appreciate that. Awesome. All right. Well, maybe I should continue with the article. All right. I don't want to lose track. Let's see. In the UAP office has also committed to disclosing another successfully resolved case in the upcoming months. That's the Transmedium Object. They're going to, try to debunk. That's a great video. It's too bad if they're able to debunk that one of the thing going in the water and then coming out and splitting it in two. Man, I hope that remains anomalous because that's a cool video. But if they debunk it, they debunk it. Let's see. One such event occurred in 2019 when the USS Omaha documented such an occurrence, and another instance took place in 2013 in Aguadilla, Puerto Rico. Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. An event filmed by a U.S. Customs and Border Protection aircraft. The AARO's latest report does offer some glimpse into the challenges the U.S. military faces. There are some cases where reported UAP have potentially exhibited one or more concerning performance characteristics, such as high-speed travel or unusual maneuverability. Yeah, I mean, for sure. There's, the 5 observables, right? The 5 things that, we couldn't do, humans couldn't do unaided, right? So yeah, there's obviously, measures that you can use to say whether these things are truly anomalous or not. Now, some genuine UFOs aren't doing anything particularly anomalous. They're just kind of hanging out in the sky, doing whatever they're doing. So I don't think that's like a foolproof thing. They have to conform to one of the 5 observables to be a genuine UFO, but it's a good benchmark. It's a good benchmark. Something the AARO is less enthusiastic about talking about is apparent active jamming. Yeah, that's one point that article makes, is how the government doesn't want to talk about that. That goes on to say there have been many reports relating to UAP active jamming military aircraft, a hostile act if such craft are from adversarial nations. In 1976, an Iranian military pilot reported losing all instruments and communications when approaching a UAP. Yeah, a great incident, very well documented, classic UFO encounter. In 2004, U.S. military aircraft approached a Tic Tac UAP over the Pacific Ocean. The object appeared to be jamming the aircraft's radar. Yeah, that's the Tic Tac, where the Tic Tac was jamming Commander Fravor's radar. Earlier this year, a United States Air Force pilot stationed at Florida's Eglin Air Force Base reported that his sensor systems suddenly malfunctioned as his aircraft approached a UAP over the Gulf of Mexico. Yeah, and that sparked concern. Yeah, I guess so. Representative Matt Gaetz, who met with the pilot, stated when he approached, he said that his radar went down. He said that his FLIR system malfunctioned and that he had to manually take this image from one of the lenses. In February 2023, USA Air Force pilots engaged a UAP. According to one source, the pilots claimed that the object interfered with their sensors. Yeah, and I wonder if that's the balloon gate, one of the balloon gate incidents where they were going after an object and it interfered with their sensors. I think that may be coming from Ross Coulthart. Fact check me on that. But yeah, balloon gate is really interesting, and it seems like we're getting more information coming out about that, pointing to the genuine anomalous nature of at least one or more of these encounters. And in fact, encounters that we didn't even know about. Ross Coulthart reports that one of the encounters in Alaska happened before the balloon was shot down. The object that we know is the balloon that was widely reported as a Chinese spy balloon, although apparently there's some doubt on that. But whatever the case on that particular object, I'm satisfied that it was a balloon. But we don't know about the others. But apparently, that was not even the first encounter. There was actually an encounter before that object in Alaska. And that may be an incident where their instruments were interfered with. Yeah, however, such concerns are not included in the AARO report. Commenting to Liberation Times, Susan Goff explained, so far we have not found any verifiable evidence that any UAP have actively interfered with our sensors. Well, that is, counter to what the pilots are saying. And surely there's data and records of the malfunctions, right? Regarding the Gulf of Mexico incident, Goff added the USAF, the Air Force, and pilot also reported that this particular test aircraft had fuses blow on those sensor systems 3 times in the past year. So trying to debunk that they had been interfered with. Because, of course, if it's like a jamming situation, that's actually, according to my understanding, technically an act of war. So I guess they don't want to go there. They don't want to admit to that. And they also don't want to admit to the public that the UFOs pose any risk or harm, right? I mean, Sean Kirkpatrick went out of his way in his first report to Congress saying UFOs have never collided with a human vehicle and never harmed anybody, right? There's never been any health consequences, in spite of the mountains of evidence, they say otherwise. People have had all sorts of physical negative effects from contact with the UFOs or proximity to UFOs, from radiation that have had dire consequences to, obviously unwanted pregnancies, right, with the abduction cases. So, so total lie. They don't want to go there. They don't want to admit that. And Susan Goff is continuing that fine tradition of obfuscation. Let's see. Notwithstanding this claim, the recurring pattern of behavior strongly hints at active jamming by UAP. That's per Chris Sharp. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Susan Goff is full of it. I know she's in a bind. I mean, she's not the villain, but she's just doing her job, doing her shift as the disinformation. Now let's see. I want to go back to the chat. I don't want to miss any of you guys. Gray Troll, see you everywhere. Yeah, I've seen Gray Trolls. He gets around. He or she. I don't want to misgender. Let's see. Here we go. Gray Troll says it's the synchronicity. Silverbuzz says, hey, just so you know, before it gets public on November 7th today, and Jaime Maussan's YouTube, they said they are going to show 2 new types or aliens or bodies. Wow, fascinating. Silverbuzz, do you know what types those are? Are those different from the ones we've seen? Because we're familiar with the small ones, obviously, the ones that I've been talking about lately, that they've been talking about lately and doing the analyses on. Of course, there's also the big ones. I think one of them is called Maria, that are the human-sized beings. Is there a new kind that we haven't seen publicly disclosed, or are we going to talk more about Maria? Because I think that once you open the Pandora's box on the little guys in ladies, because there's eggs, obviously some of them are female. Then you open the door for the big ones to also be anomalous and genuine, not human bodies that have been altered or what have you. And I think Maria also has three fingers and weird features that could hint at an actual inhuman, a non-human body. I don't know how else to say it. Yeah, so really fascinating. I can't wait for November 7th. I can't wait to see what they come up with. Jim says, hello from 185 miles north of you here in Denton. Hey, Denton, how's it going? Hey, Ohio. Hey, Jim. Nice. Thanks for joining the chat. Custom boat screen soldier says, hey, hey. Lyndon says, Abraxas, that confuses me. People go on about that Chinese balloon when it was easily visible just by simply looking up. Yeah, true, true. Custom Boat Solution says, I think we were given the crafts. Yes, yes, indeed. It does appear that we were given the crafts, and that, idea has been around for a long time. Bob Oxler, the NASA analyst, that got Bobby Ray Inman on audio talking about UFO crash retrievals and reverse engineering, said that we were gifted some of these vehicles. And, not only gifted them, but there are others that have said we directly worked with the beings to, develop some of this technology. That in the late 50s or early 60s, the beings were working with us to develop training devices so that we could be trained in how to fly UFOs or UFO-like vehicles. So yeah, so we seem to have, according to my best information, and the sources are scanty, unfortunately, but there are some very credible sources for that sort of information, yeah, including former heads of Area 51 and Lockheed Skunk Works engineers, and some good sources that wait until the end of their life before they reveal this information. That really strongly indicates that the control group has been working with the beings for a long time now. And they've been assisting with abductions. They go up in ships. We don't know where they go. Do they go off world sometimes? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, kind of a shame if you were in the control group and you were in the military or whatever. They're elite soldiers and going up on a UFO. It'd be too bad if you didn't get to go off world. That's all I'm saying. Reef and Dive says, love the angelfish behind you. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that's a hallmark from my scuba diving days. When I was younger, I used to scuba dive. And yeah, I love the sea. I've written books about the sea. Check out the Atomic Sea. Check it out. I think it's reversed right now. Shalto De Puma says, I saw Starlink for the first time last night. So disappointed when I realized that it wasn't a UAP fleet. I know, right? It's such a juicy sighting, but it's not an actual UFO. And if you're just joining us, this is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, share on social media. And if you're so motivated to support the channel, please consider leaving a super chat. One of the good things about leaving a super chat is that I will see your comment immediately and be able to get to it right away. But I'm going to try to get to all of them. But it may take me a minute to get to yours. But if you want me to get to it right away, consider leaving a super chat. Stuff like that really keeps me motivated to keep doing these live streams. So, CRD says, or taken from a sub. What was taken from a sub? Let me know what you mean. Yeah, Grandmaster says, this is awesome. Thank you, Grandmaster. Alexander says, yes, there was one balloon they filmed, they shot down. But that's not the only shoot down. Show the footage of the others. Amen, Alexander. Amen. Where's the other videos, right? They've shot down 4 of these objects that we know of. Apparently, there was an interception that occurred before then. They didn't shoot them down. Those objects maneuvered away in Alaska. That's the one that Ross Coulthart just recently reported on. And but they shot down 4 of these objects. One of them was unambiguously a balloon, but the other 4 objects, they have not released the videos of those objects. They haven't told us what they were. They floated the idea they could be aerostats or balloons of some private company or individual, but no private company or individual has come forward saying, hey, you shot down our freaking balloon, pony up with reimbursement already. Nobody said that. So what are those objects, right? We don't know. But something happened there because it was right at that time that the White House got involved in the UFO issue. White House created their own inter-office UFO agency, seemingly in opposition to AARO, right? Like they actually wanted to get something done. And they did. They worked with Chuck Schumer and the Congress to get the Schumer-Rounds Amendment created. And, so the White House actively got involved with the UFO issue, possibly for the first time ever. As far as getting laws enacted and doing things in the public sphere, because of Balloon Gate, because of Balloon Gate. So something happened there. Something happened there. It wasn't all balloons. It wasn't all balloons. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't all balloons. Shalto says, "Hey Jack, did you have your DMT experience yet? How was it? Did you meet any entities?" As far as entities go, I guess my biggest entity experience was my ayahuasca Jesus UFO experience, where I had my Jesus event. I don't know if I want to get into all that right now, but I did a dedicated video on that. I didn't see Jesus, but I had this powerful moment doing an ayahuasca retreat, which does contain DMT. My actual standalone DMT experiences have been lackluster. I haven't gotten enough to have a breakthrough. Unfortunately, I did 5 hits of one of those guys, and I couldn't get enough. It wasn't hot enough or whatever. And man, that 4th and 5th hit was difficult. It was difficult to know what the hell I was doing after 4 or 5. But I wasn't breathing correctly. You have to do these long, drawn out breaths for that stuff, and I was hitting it like I was hitting a joint. And I wouldn't. Yeah. So, but as far as actual DMT experiences go, my only real experiences that have really gotten deep into the medicine has been with Mother Aya. And I had some amazing experiences with that that ultimately led to my real major UFO sighting. I had that powerful resonance with Jesus that I experienced because, a lifetime of atheism and not religious in any way. I got into UFOs, led me to spirituality because they're all connected. The metaphysical and the phenomenon are all interwoven, and people have all sorts of crazy religious experiences and or spiritual experiences, perhaps I should say. And it made me curious about Jesus because people, occasionally he comes up in some of these encounters and near-death experiences, which I began to study. And so I started reading more about him and like Dolores Cannon kind of material, which is a really fascinating vision of Jesus where he's tied up with Atlantis and Atlantean prophecies and UFOs and reincarnation. It's a really interesting, different take on Jesus. It's not the Christian dogma, no offense to Christians watching this, but I didn't want to do a study of Jesus by reading the Bible. I wanted to get some more outside takes on that. Anyway, so I had my powerful moment in ayahuasca during one retreat, one night, one ceremony, and this powerful resonance. It was just really profound. It was crazy. I just expected Jesus to come out and wave at me, and he didn't. But I asked for a sign if that was a legitimate experience or not. A month later, when I'm perfectly sober, driving down the road, coming back from a Renaissance festival. Yes, I was actually sober coming back to the Renaissance festival. It was an hour drive. I didn't want to be drunk. Saw my UFO, made the shape of the cross in the sky. It appeared like that, going down and vanished. And then I said, "Oh my God, I saw a UFO, sweetie." I talked to my wife. We got to do some C5. And I looked back at the sky and direct my love and intention at the sky. Immediately, another object or the same object appears in the sky, going like that. And again, it appears and disappears. The shorter arc, the horizontal arc, forming a perfect right angle and shorter than the first line, forming a perfect Christian cross. And so I get home, I go out in the backyard, and I say, "Did I really see that? Please give me a sign that I saw that." And a single white round object or light comes on in the sky and goes like that. It just blinks on slowly and then slowly vanishes and disappears. So so the cross was my confirmation of that ayahuasca moment, and then I received a confirmation of that confirmation, and then I asked for another confirmation. Did I really see that orb thing that just blinked on and off? And of course they said, "Screw you, we've given you enough," and I didn't get anything else. So was that an actual Jesus event? Was that Jesus saying hello? Was that an angel? Was that my spirit guides or higher self saying, hey, you're on the right track. I don't know what that was. And I really wanted to get further into that with my latest ayahuasca retreat. That was one of my intentions in going there, was to see if I could get some answers as to that event. Did I interact with Jesus? What happened there? What happened there? So I don't know what that was about. I really don't. And I don't want to pretend I do, but it was an amazing encounter. And I didn't actually get into any insight into that in my last retreat that I just got back from a couple weeks ago. And, it went in other directions, Let's just put it that way. So, okay, I feel like I've gotten way off the track. I've gotten a lot of your questions behind. Mr. Legendary says this is like finding Moses. Okay, I missed that. Christian says they can't debunk the Aguadilla video. No way. I'm a little behind on the conversation, but no way you can debunk that. Get out of here. PR is my hometown, biggest USO hotspot, according to Richard Dolan. Yeah, Christian, I agree. I'm going to be really disappointed if they manage to debunk that video. And even if they do debunk that video, can we trust their debunking? We can't trust anything that comes out of Sean's mouth. Can we trust anything that comes out of Kathleen Hicks' mouth? I don't know. If the new director of AARO is what's his name? Carl. I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. That guy. He seems a lot more trustworthy. And so I'm optimistic that it'll be him. I'm hopeful it'll be him. He's stood up for David Grush. He has admitted the existence of the UFO phenomenon. So I really hope that it's him. I think he'd be a good pick. But we'll see. But yeah, just because they debunk something doesn't really mean anything, does it? Because we can't trust these guys. And Sean Kirkpatrick has debunked any health effects related to UFOs. But that's a BS debunking, right? So yeah, good point. Ben Love says, I recently started trying to get UFOs to appear following the example of how Chris Bledsoe has his sightings, and through inviting them to appear, I have finally had orbs appear. Oh, that's awesome. And when you say orbs, do you mean the more UFO kind of orb, where it seems to be an object, like a physical object, or do you mean the more metaphysical, spiritual kind of orb? And there's a lot of wiggle room in between there. I mean, the UFO phenomenon and the paranormal metaphysical phenomenon, there's a huge crossover. And it's, you've had aliens or non-humans that have popped out of what will seem to be more spiritual or metaphysical orbs. So, and Bigfoot, there's a huge crossover. That's why I call it the greater phenomenon. It's all blended into one. The UFO phenomenon, it'd be so much easier to understand if it just fit in a box and we could study it, but it's all interwoven with all this other stuff, which makes it a lot more interesting, frankly, and a lot more important. But it also makes it a whole lot harder to understand. JD says, yes, thank you for all your research and work every single day, even during vacation. Oh, thank you, JD. I appreciate that. And if you're just joining me, this is Jack with Cosmic Road. Please subscribe. If you are so motivated, please consider leaving a super chat and supporting this channel and these live streams. And if you do leave a super chat, I will see your question immediately. And I'll be able to answer it right away. But I'm trying to get to all the questions. Leonid Abraxas says the idea that they couldn't find debris in Alaska is garbage. Yeah, right. Well, they apparently called off the search for debris in all those 3 additional cases, right? How likely is it they would call off the search for debris in all 3 cases? Now I get it. Maybe 1 or 2 is a really remote, hard to get to. It's under the ice or whatever. They said, screw that. We're not going to bother. Yeah, maybe I could buy that in 1 or 2 of them, but all 3 of them. Yeah, and they're not going to release the video for all 3 of those. Something happened there, guys. Something happened. That's just not right. I don't buy it. Don't buy it. Alexander says, did you cover Heistalon yet? That's not ringing a bell. I hate to say. Can you remind me what Histalon is? I'm probably totally mispronouncing that. That Histalon, that's ringing a vague bell. But yeah, remind me, and I'll, my memory is crap. I'll be honest. It's not my best feature. I can remember the big picture stuff generally, but like the little details, yeah. I want to believe says, what other candidates other than Carl Nell, that was his last name, also can replace Kirkpatrick? Military guys. Well, a lot of people have been floating Chris Mellon out as a possible name. He occupied high levels of government in the past. Why not in the future, right? People have said, well, bring Jay Stratton back. Thomas Fessler was saying, well, he probably wouldn't want to come back because he's in the private sector now. And that may be true, but he might be willing to come back for that, right? I don't know. Has anybody asked him? Has he? I would love his comments on that. I would love to know what he says about that. My mind also goes to Lou Elizondo, although I think that he said he wouldn't be interested in that because his hands would be tied. If he took that position, there would be things that he could not say if he took that position. And so I'm afraid that would be true for anybody, that as soon as you assume that kind of position, you're going to be limited on what you're allowed to say. Now, hopefully that doesn't mean you're obligated to lie like John Kirkpatrick. If you can't disclose something, just say, hey, I can't talk about it. That's what Lou has always done. But obligated to lie, that's another thing. And, that's yeah. So anyway, but yeah, so, Lou, I would love to see Lou there. I don't think he would do it. Jay Stratton, I mean, the man that's haunted by a werewolf, part of Skinwalker Ranch, the first director of the UAP task force, who actually got in trouble for being too proactive in his investigations when he was the director of the UAP task force. And it's looking like he was the guy that was working with David Grush during his investigations, or at least began with David Grush. So I don't know if we would have David Grush without Jay Stratton. So I love Jay. I would love him to come back. Right now, I guess he's too busy reverse engineering UFOs, or is trying to do something like that at Radiance. We'll see if that happens. We'll see if they tell us about it. Shlomo says, hey, all cool. You're doing a live chat. Yeah, we're doing a live chat, Shlomo. Had a good friend named Shlomi. I want to believe says what? Okay. Yeah. David Austin says, thanks for all the work you put into this. I look forward to it every day and love to learn all I can. Well, thank you, David. Soraya, I may be mispronouncing that, says, do you think we'll have any kind of disclosure next year? Well, I mean, people are promising, right? People have major promises, even about November. They say November is going to be a huge month. Well, maybe it will, maybe it won't. We've already gotten a couple of juicy tidbits, but I wouldn't say it's like, a huge bombshell, maybe a little bombshell. More information about the balloon gate, SK leaving and all of that. But people are saying that 2024 is going to be huge. And Ross Coulthart, it wasn't long ago when he was saying we were going to have disclosure in months, not years. Does that mean by the end of this year? I mean, that's coming up, man. That's coming up. So I don't want to make any predictions about when we're going to have disclosure. John Ramirez and Chris Bledsoe, according to their information, it's either 2026 or 2027 when some major stuff is going to drop. And a lot of people are saying 2024. So, time will tell. I don't want to make any predictions. Let's see. Shalto says, dang, what an experience. That would make anyone a believer. Talking about my ayahuasca experience with the UFO that I saw later, not during the ceremony. I was sober when I saw the UFO. Yeah, man, it was an amazing experience. And I'm a total believer in Aya. And I mean, it's a real spiritual something or other. It takes you to places. It puts you in a, I don't understand it. I don't want to say it wrong or contextualize it in a way that's not accurate, or portray Mother Aya in a way that's not authentic. But yeah, Mother Aya is real. I mean, I experienced my healing there. Cured me of a birth defect, a physical birth defect that crippled me in my intestines for all my life. Western medicine couldn't cure me. Eastern medicine couldn't cure me, although it did keep me going for a while. They were set to remove my intestines before my wife got me on the Chinese herbs, and that kept me going for 20 years. And then Year and a half ago, Mother Aya came along, went to my first ceremony, and healed me. Healed me. It was amazing. It was amazing. And, the after effects of that for a week, I just felt like I could fly. It was nuts. Mother Aya is the real deal. It's not just a chemical. It's not just a drug. It's amazing. It's amazing stuff. But, definitely you want to go with a good shaman. I've heard bad things. There are some bad shamans out there. So be careful. Be careful. Go with your gut. Use your intuition and do some research. Chris says, this is a theory I've been putting together. The mantids are creating grays the same way as the aliens and the movie Contact with Jodie Foster, where the aliens use something familiar to connect. Yeah, no, that's totally possible. I mean, it's so weird that the grays resemble us so much, right? Either that's just a normal shape that, intelligent life forms assume, or, it's just a natural way to evolve, 2 legs and 2 eyes, 2 arms, or else they're related to us in somehow, or made to look like us because we can relate to them. So, great point. Great point. And it's weird how the mantids play into this. They seem to be the overseers of the grays. That's according to a lot of accounts. But then there's other accounts that point to the Nordics as being the overseers of the grays. And, one of my favorite examples of that is the Dick Algier and Daz Smith remote viewing of the Phoenix Lights. Some of you, aren't cool with remote viewing, and I get it. I wasn't either. I thought it was woo-woo and out there, and I wasn't even going to touch it. But it kept on coming up in the research as credible. And a lot of psi phenomenon, other psi phenomenon as well. And so I eventually was forced to research it, and I did a thorough research of remote viewing. And eventually I concluded that, yeah, it was real. It was real. And anyway, but I'll let you research that and get comfortable with it. But one of the best remote viewings that I ever heard about or watched was that one by Dick and Daz, 2 really great remote viewers. Remote viewed the Phoenix Lights incident, and they saw that this was a double blind remote viewing. They have no idea what they're saying, but they're seeing this giant ship flying over a city, piloted by, or the main guy controlling the ship was a Nordic being. They didn't use the word Nordic, but they said he looked human and is elegant and like 5th dimensional being and all that kind of stuff. Dick said he could also shapeshift and become like a cat man. He actually called him the cat man, which is interesting. But he was attended to by smaller beings. Again, Dick and Daz didn't call them grays, but the way they described them and drew them, they look like gray aliens. And I've seen that in other places as well. The Nordics seem to be the bosses of grays, which is so. Is it the Mantids or the Nordics? Are they competing forces that run their own team of grays? Are they working together? I don't remember seeing any occasions where Nordics and Mantids have worked together. Can you guys clue me in? Have y'all seen that? I could just be forgetting it. I mean, I've absorbed so many alien abductions over the last few years. Maybe I've gotten some of that wrong, but I can't remember offhand any encounters between Nordics and Mantids. But let me know if you have. Oh, I got a super chat. Oh, thank you, Shogun Order. I appreciate that. Shogun says, hi, Jack. My thing is some say aliens are shapeshifters. If so, then why not all of them? If that's so, what we know of them could be a narrative. Who knows what the truth is then? No, that is a great point, Shogun. And that's something I talk about not infrequently, is we can't really trust anything they say or even their appearance. There's many experiencers report they do shapeshift. They can shapeshift, and each race can shapeshift into the other. So you think you're looking at a Nordic, but it's a reptilian. You think you're looking at a reptilian, but it's a Nordic, and so on. You don't know what you're dealing with. And then they'll show you your grandmother, and you don't know if it's really your grandmother or if it's a screen memory or an alien posing as your grandmother. It's creepy, it's weird, it's nebulous, it's hard to make sense of, it's hard to wrap your head around, hard for me to wrap my head around. It is hard to trust. And the beings say lots of stuff, right? They'll tell people all sorts of stuff about where they came from and their history and why they're here. But can you trust anything they say? They'll tell people, their whole history and how they got to be here and what they were here for. But different races will have different versions of that story, and different groups of grays and other beings will have different versions of that story. The typical upshot is usually we're a weak and dying race, and you have nothing to fear from us, and we need you. You're important to us. That's the typical narrative, the typical upthrust of the narrative. But all the particulars will be totally different. One story will be we're from the future, one from an alternate reality, one we're a weak and dying race because we've, genetically modified ourselves into sterility, or we've become absorbed by technology and AI, and that's why we're sterile, or we're from the past, and whatever. So they'll have all these different versions of that story, all the same general thrust that we're weak and we're dying. You have nothing to fear from us, and we need you. You're important to us. So you can't trust any of that. You can't. They're not weak. They're not. They don't seem to be weak at all. They're robust. They're very powerful. If the Roper poll in the '90s is correct, they are possibly abducting between 2 and 5% of the world's populace. And that's over the course of these abductees' lifetimes, generally many times a year, often, sometimes continuously, without getting caught, without getting seen, leaving very few fingerprints or telltales behind. That is a robust and sophisticated operation. That is not the sign of a weak and dying race. I'm sorry. So, you can't believe anything they say, unfortunately. Life would be so much easier. Hey, Jack, let's go. I get all my alien news from you. Well, thank you, Jack. I don't know if that's wise, but I do appreciate the thought. Thank you. And thank you for the super chat. It's awesome. Oh, and thank you for joining. Just become a member. That's awesome. Yeah, if you're just joining, this is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, share on social media. And if you wanted to, if you were so motivated, please consider leaving a super chat. One of the good things about leaving a super chat, other than to keep me motivated doing these live streams, is that I will see your comment right away and be able to get to it. Let's see. Mr. Dale Legendary says, what do you think about manifestation and the law of attraction? That's some powerful stuff, man. It really, I tend to believe it. I tend to believe that there's a lot of truth to it. I don't think anyone really has like all the answers, but there definitely seems to be some truth to that. Manifestation, I've heard really great things about. I keep on wanting to do it myself. I'm a terrible meditator. I need to meditate every day, and I don't. I've had some amazing experiences over the last few years that can be described as metaphysical, and I want to have more of those. And so I'm, highly motivated to meditate, but I just don't do it. I'm, call it mentally lazy, saying, I don't know. I don't know, but I need to do that, and I need to do manifestation. I also have the Monroe Gateway process, which, the ultimate goal is to, achieve out of body experiences, right? And I have that, and I have not used that. So I need to get on that. Hopefully this, upcoming year will be the year that I get on that and do that. But if you guys have ever done manifestation, let me know in the comments below. Yeah, because I would love different people's opinions on that, and different, experiences that people have had with that. Let's see. Christian says, I would add they all sound strange except the Chinese balloon. One was a cylinder. The one in Lake Huron was an octagon shaped size of a small car. That's right. Lake Huron has been a hotspot for a long time. Yeah, that's what I've heard. Fascinating place. One of many fascinating places. Sedona. So many interesting hotspots. Obviously Skinwalker Ranch, and there's the Bradshaw Ranch, and all sorts of places. Are there UFO bases there? Why are those places so anomalous and such hotspots of activity? What's going on there? Let me know what you think. Yeah, electrogravitics is awesome. And what is up with their electrogravitics? What are they doing? What are the scientists doing with that? What are the secret projects doing with electrogravitics? Because they're doing something. I guarantee you they're doing something. Yeah, Curly Spike says the balloons were all Zeppelins, according to McQuest. Yeah. Danny says, is there something new about the photo from the pilot of Eglin Air Force Base? I heard the UAP was connected with something under the water, but I am not sure. I'm trying to remember what I know about Eglin Air Force Base. Is that the one that Matt Gates talked about? I could be getting that conflated with something. So remind me which one that was. That was they had some military guys sent out to intercept that one, right? I'm like I said, I'm terrible at remembering stuff. If I'm researching it, I'll remember it for a while. But spur of the moment, my memory is terrible. So hopefully somebody can clue us in on the details of Eglin Air Force Base. Maybe I should just Google that. Let's see, Eglin Air Force Base UFO. Yeah, that's the Matt Gates one. Okay, well, that was not wrong. Okay, yeah. Let's see. Representative Matt Gates asked a House Oversight Subcommittee to subpoena radar data and images from a UFO encounter with U.S. Air Force pilots off the coast of Florida in the Gulf of Mexico earlier this year. Gates said from the images he saw of the object, he was not able to attach to any human capability, either from the U.S. or from our adversaries. The comments came during a House Oversight Subcommittee Wednesday as it heard testimony on UAPs or whatever. So 3 former military members with firsthand knowledge testified about their experience. Yada yada yada. We're familiar with all that. Let's see. Gates said the pilot told him they were doing a test flight over the Gulf of Mexico on a clear day when 4 objects were identified on radar flying in a diamond formation. Gates said he's personally seen the radar data from the incident. One of the pilots goes to check out that diamond formation and sees a large floating, what I can only describe as an orb. Again, like I said, not have any human capability that I'm aware of. So they see an orb. Okay, interesting. And then the FLIR system malfunctioned, and the pilot had to manually take this image from one of the lenses. So yeah, I'm not saying anything about the sea or the coming from the water, but I don't want to take the time to read that whole article either. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff comes from the sea or goes into the sea, so that would not surprise me at all. The famous Tic Tac incident. That craft came. Well, we don't know if it came from the sea, but it was interacting with a larger craft that was in the sea. And there's 100 or more of those objects over the course of a week coming and going from the sea all the time. Christian says, Jack, and thank you for the super chat. Thank you. I appreciate that. Jack, I don't hear much about abductions anymore. The phenomenon changes. 50s, it was contactees, then abductions, or is it that researchers died or retired? Is it because of stigma and credibility? Yeah, that's something I was talking to somebody earlier today in the comment section about, Christian, was are abductions on the decline, right? Because that's one of the claims. I think Whitley Strieber made that claim, and then he kind of backpedaled it. He said he got some new additional information that convinced him that maybe it wasn't on the decline. But there's a lot of people that do think abductions are on the decline, that the beings have reached the next phase of their operation, that they have all the hybrids they need now. And, so now it's all about utilizing the hybrids that they have here on the planet. And they're going to blend in with society. I'm sure they already have, and they're occupy high positions of power, whatever they're doing, whatever it is the hybrids are doing. So that's one idea, is that they don't need to have any more abductions because they have all the embryos and all the hybrids they need. But there's another school of thought that say that abductions are continuing apace, that they haven't slowed down at all. And I don't know which one of those stories is right. I really don't. So so if you guys have some strong opinions about that or some data, let me know. I would love to know. But yeah, great question, Christian. Yeah, question, Christian. Okay. So yeah, Texas in speech impediment. Okay. Serenity says owls also show up around psychedelic experience. So they seem to pick up on the person's energy when reaching higher states of consciousness. Owls are fascinating. Yeah, and they do play a part in all this. Owls really, they show up in abductions, they show up in spiritual experiences. Owls are fascinating. And sometimes aliens will assume the form of an owl or make owls appear. Oh, let's see. Thank you, Shogun Order. I appreciate that. Another super chat from Shogun. I remember half hearing that Eisenhower, I think, did a deal with aliens for tech, and aliens could only do abductions for a time. Deal is done now. Man, I've heard so many different versions. Well, may I say so many? I've heard like 3 or 4 different versions of the Eisenhower meeting with the being story. One that he met, with one group of beings just one time. One that he met with like 3 groups of beings during the course of a day, and he made deals with 1 or 2 of them and rejected the deal from the other, and one that he met with beings over the course of years at different Air Force bases. And I don't know which one of those is true, if any. However, the timing lines up very well because, according to the best information that I have, the control group began working with the beings in the late 50s and early 60s. So if he did make a deal, I forget when that was said to have heard. When was Eisenhower? Was that early mid 50s? Yeah. Again, I'm gonna have to Google it. Eisenhower, uh, Eisenhower president, 34th president. Let's see. He was president from somewhere. There's Wikipedia. Anyway, I'm not going to take the time to do that. Yeah, he was president from 53 to 61. So that's right in the time period where we seem to have begun working with the beings. So that really makes sense that he would have met with these beings. One of the prominent versions of that story is that he met with the 3 races of beings, and one of them was the Nordics, who wanted him to disarm the nukes. They were going to give him more enlightened gifts and help humanity ascend to a more enlightened state. But the price to pay would have to be to disarm our nukes. And Eisenhower wasn't willing to do that. I mean, we had just won the war in Japan in World War II with nuclear weapons, and he was not willing to disarm, get rid of the nukes. And of course, Russia. If we got rid of the nukes, then what would prevent the Soviet Union from wiping us out, right? Unless he could be assured that they had also a deal, right? So that's one version of the story, is that he rejected the deal with the Nordics, who wanted us to get rid of the nukes in exchange for helping us ascend to the next level. But he made a deal with the Greys in exchange for technology, and also allowing them to perform a certain number of abductions and cow mutilations. But also they had to give us the names of the people they were abducting. And apparently they kind of fudged on that. And apparently we weren't great at upholding our end of the bargain either, whatever the details of that was. So, great question. I don't know which version of that story is correct, but I will say that timeline works out very well. It really does. Really does. So, owls are the weirdest, especially when they fly with no sound. Yeah, owls are crazy. Owls are part of this, whether that's just symbolically or what I don't know, but yeah, owls are really a fascinating part of this whole thing. Chris Collins says, being that you're a writer too and into aliens, I finally started putting my writing past to good use and writing a sci-fi novella. I'll let you know when I finish it. Awesome, Chris. Well, good luck with that. Yeah, I've been a novelist all my life. I started writing my first novel when I was 11. And, I used to think that I had to bring the fantastic into the world because it didn't exist. As an atheist, a non-believer in all UFOs until 2017. And, I was never more glad to be proven wrong. Although when I first got into UFOs, I was still an atheist and I looked at it from a very scary place. There's aliens here from another world and they're taking us and they're doing stuff to us and we can't stop them. It was really kind of a terrifying, awakening into that UFO reality. But then I got into the more metaphysical stuff and I was like, okay, well, there is some good parts of it. There are some good parts of it. And we don't really know what the abductions are for or what the ultimate end game is. There's definitely some people that think that there's a positive end game to abductions, positive to us, that they're upgrading us, making us more spiritually aware, etc. Many abductees do have abilities after their abductions, psychic abilities. Talk about remote viewing again. They have psychic abilities. Some have like telekinesis or advanced healing abilities. I've gotten into Reiki, and that's a legit thing. I never would have believed that a few years ago, but it was when it was first done on me back when I didn't really believe in it, but I had done some research to indicate that it might be real. And I felt the energy. I was like, holy crap, I'm feeling the force. And I was feeling the force. It was amazing. I mean, I had this glow all day because I could feel the energy. It's nuts. And I was like, man, I've got to learn that. I've got to learn that. And so people that have abductions often have enhanced healing abilities and various other abilities. And some people think that is an exchange, that the aliens or non-humans are using their sperm and ova in exchange, giving these gifts. It's like, you do this for me, I'll do this for you. Some people think it's all part of it, that's what they're here to do, is upgrade us. And those gifts and abilities will be transferred onto their hybrid children. So I don't know. The hybrids do seem to have all those abilities. I'm not persuaded they're all super nice, but maybe some of them are. I don't know what their agenda is. But David Jacobs has some interesting stories in his book, Walking Among Us. Or is it They Walk Among Us or Walking Among Us? But where, a hybrid would, doesn't have the same morality that we do. He'll go into a store, he wants a t-shirt, and he just grabs the t-shirt and walks off with it and, mind wipes the clerk into thinking that she had sold him the t-shirt. So they just stealing the t-shirt and manipulating the minds of the person that would have been selling it to him. So, I'm not persuaded they are learning morality in a way that's helpful. Not that they're bad people, but they need some better teachers, I think, in that sphere. So Rich says, "Oh, John Ramirez, hey John, just wanted to say hi. No comments for me today. Not CIA John." Well, thanks for clearing that up. But hey, John, Rich says the year 2027 is more connected to humanity coming into new knowledge with the age of Aquarius. Man, amen, brother. I hope that's what's happening. I hope we are ascending, entering the fifth dimension, all that kind of stuff. We're becoming open to the fifth dimension as my mind is a blank when I am on live streams, but the guy, the young guy remembers Atlantis. How can I not remember his name? Love that guy. But yeah, he thinks that, we're not necessarily entering the fifth dimension, because if we did enter the fifth dimension, we would die, but we are becoming open to it. Our consciousnesses are becoming open to it, and we are going to ascend if we are open to it. So, Adam says, Jack, I used to have a pet sailfish. And he was, how do you have a pet sailfish? Did you have a giant aquarium? Because that's pretty cool. Man, I've always wanted a saltwater aquarium, but that would be a big saltwater aquarium, man. But that's awesome. That's awesome. Curious says, psychedelics are a crucial piece of the puzzle, I think. They have helped me so much. Yeah, psychedelics really are. The way I look at it now is that, if we are beings that enter this reality to experience this reality for whatever reason, then, our brains are really filters. They're the filters of our consciousness. And psychedelics can allow us to alter that filter, right? To allow us to see things that we couldn't see otherwise, because our brain filters it out. So maybe we can see things that maybe our higher self could normally see when we're on psychedelics, or be connected to energies that we can normally access, when we're on psychedelics, so that's just a theory. I don't know. I don't understand how it works, but I know that it does. Ben says, for anyone wanting to try what I have been doing to mimic Chris Bledsoe, I speak out loud to the sky and say, I love you. I would appreciate your presence. This is an invitation to those who would serve the divine feminine to make their presence known. I am in contact and connected. I feel contacted and connected. I attract contact and connection. I love contact and connection. Very cool. I love that, Ben. Thank you. Jumble says, tell you what scares me. Hey, Jumbles, if we announce that we are not alone and the average person still shrugs, that scares me. That means we're too far gone. This scares me. I know, right? Good point. Good point. All right. We got a super chat. Let's see. Shogun. Okay, cool. Shogun says, I recall somewhere that hybrids are sociopaths, but some are wise empaths. Both ends of the spectrum. You know about the secret space program and hybrids? Well, I don't know what part of the secret space program specifically you're talking about, because there's some different versions of that, right? There's the Corey Good information, which I don't have any confidence in, but then there is the legitimate secret space program stuff that I do, like the Terry Lovelace stuff, where he saw military guys going aboard a giant UFO that was bigger on the inside than on the outside. And it was already the size of Walmart on the outside. Yeah, and they were pushing buttons and stuff. They were active service members aboard this giant UFO. So absolutely, there is a secret space program of some variety. We've got our own UFOs. We're assisting in abductions. We've almost certainly gone off world. So something like that is true. Now, when you say that the hybrid program related to the secret space program, are you talking about hybrids aboard the UFOs? Or are you talking about the control group assisting in abductions and creating hybrids? So let me know what you mean by that. You don't need to super chat me again. Just say it in the comments and I'll get to you. But yeah, great, important. That's an important piece of the puzzle is, us working with the beings and being in UFOs and creating hybrids. That's a huge piece of the puzzle. I don't know what the answers are, but we may be finding out in the near future. If the hybrid program has reached a different phase, we may be finding out. Super crazy movie geek. Hey, super crazy. It says if trans. I'm not sure if I'm seeing that right. UFO is prosaic. Would AARO delay the report? Let's see. I'm not sure what trans mean. Transmuted? Transmedium. I think. Okay, transmedium. It takes me a minute sometimes. Sorry. If transmedium UFO is prosaic, would AARO delay? I think they'd accelerate that report, right? They would be very quick to get out a prosaic or mundane explanation for a UFO. I'm surprised they didn't say that in the first place, right? Sean did say something to that effect. Oh, I've seen no evidence of ET activity. No evidence that any of these craft are anomalous, right? I guess he's never looked at the 5 observables or done any research, but of course he has. I don't know how closely he worked with Bobby Ray Inman, but he probably worked pretty close. And Bobby Ray was, at least knowledgeable of UFO reverse engineering and crash retrievals. And, Sean Kirkpatrick worked under him. We don't know how closely, but we do know that everything that Sean Kirkpatrick, the lovely Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, has done after that point has been in keeping with somebody that was involved with UFOs and crash retrievals at that time. So I think that Sean is in this deep and that he just lies because that's his job. That's his job. Christian says, to finish my point earlier about abductions and how the phenomenon changes, the new thing seems to be the hitchhiker effect, which is high strangeness, but not necessarily grays in a spaceship. Yeah. Well, that's, possibly another example of the paranormal crossover with the UFOs, because there's all sorts of crazy paranormal crossovers with UFOs. One of my favorite statistics from the Edgar Mitchell Foundation is 30% of all alien abductees are near-death experiencers. That's wild. That's nuts. People who have literally died, been to the other side, and come back compose a huge part of the demographic of abductions. What does that mean? I wish I knew, but that's one example of the spiritual or metaphysical consciousness crossover with UFOs. But also, when UFOs touch down and there's a UFO experience, there's often poltergeist type activity that lingers after that event. Not to mention the dead people and stuff that people see aboard UFOs. Some of that is doubtlessly screen memories, but some of those people are people that the abductees had never seen before. Some of them they knew about, but they're like Tesla or Einstein. They'll see working with the beings, not interacting with them. So, why would that be a screen holder memory? Because they're not interacting with the abductee. Um, I don't know, but another possible example of the paranormal consciousness crossover with UFOs. But yeah, there's high strangeness, and the high strangeness is very high and very strange. And the hitchhiker effect is crazy and seems to be very real. I know I experienced a negative attachment one time when I was at a haunted house. I don't know if that's quite the same thing as a hitchhiker, but it might be. And it was unpleasant. It was not a pleasant thing, but I got rid of it. I got rid of it. But yeah, so I hope that Jay Stratton got rid of his hitchhiker, because that seems like a real unpleasant one. The Skinwalker, werewolf, dogman, whatever he and his family and others were experiencing, sounds horrible and terrifying. I mean, who would want to look out their backyard and see a werewolf? That's crazy. And a very scary, red glowing eyes, very malevolent looking. But some people have health effects. Some people have ghosts. Travis Taylor has a series of interesting hitchhikers. One of them resulted in the death of a chicken, I believe, causing the malfunction of his chicken coop. But one of them was an amusing example where the butt warmer on his car was malfunctioning. He and his daughter were driving somewhere, and his butt warmer wasn't working. At a certain point, he and his daughter switched places. So she was driving, and suddenly the butt warmer on the driver's side was working, but his butt warmer on the passenger side was not working. So the hitchhiker phenomenon was following him and disabling his butt warmer from seat to seat. So that's one of the funniest examples of a hitchhiker effect. But a lot of them are very scary and alarming. A lot of them are just weird. But is that alien? Is that UFO? Is that paranormal? Is that both? Is that other dimensional? Because I think that's really where a lot of this goes, is other dimensions. And when we say metaphysical or spiritual, a lot of that could be other dimensional, and just seeing, the totality of existence, and interacting with our consciousness our consciousness in general in a bigger way. Yeah, the lovely Dr. Sean. Adam says, and let's see, I'm looking for Shogun's clarification, because I realized I didn't quite answer his question. I didn't quite understand what you were saying, Shogun, about the hybrids in the space program. So maybe I could address that a little better if you give me some additional thoughts about what exactly you were saying. But yeah, if you're just joining me, this is Jack with Cosmic Road, talking about UFOs and the paranormal. I had been talking about the most recent article from the Liberation Times, and I can go back to that. I can keep asking questions, or answering questions, or fielding questions. Not that I have the answer to everything, but I can definitely talk about stuff. And so please feel free to ask your questions, and please hit like and subscribe. If you want me to see your question right away, please consider leaving a super chat, and then I will instantly see your question. And also, super chats keep me motivated to keep doing these live streams, and I really appreciate your support. Yeah, but Christian, let me know what you think about a hitchhiker effect, because it's one of the most fascinating parts of this whole phenomenon. And anybody else that wants to chime in on the hitchhiker effect, let me know. Let me know what you think. Katkin says, the Lily Dr. Shine. Adam Ward says, Jack, we live in Bell, Florida. Where are you located? I'm located in the College Station area in Texas. And I'm from Austin. I've lived most of my life in Austin. But my wife got a job here, and we moved here. So, I can write anywhere. Good thing about being a writer. We have moved around a little bit. We lived in Virginia for 1 year, the mountains of Virginia for 1 year. We lived in Oregon for a couple of years. I lived in Oregon for a couple of years. She was there for longer. I could not take Oregon. I really hated Oregon. I mean, it's beautiful in the summer. If you're from Oregon, I totally get why you love it. But it rained. I'm from Texas. I need the sun. I couldn't do it, man. I couldn't do it. Also, there's no Mexican food. Mexican food is crap in Oregon. Love you, Oregon. Yeah, in my own way, but not the Mexican food or the weather. But the summers were beautiful. Let's see. Rich says, "What are your top 3 theories about what the phenomenon is?" Um, Man, yeah, the butt warmer is a funny one. My top theories about what the phenomenon is. Well, it's so nebulous, and you can't believe a lot of what the beings are seeing and even showing to you. So, for me to form a theory about it is difficult because you can't trust what you're being shown. Now, really, my best evidence or my best insight into the UFO phenomenon actually comes from near-death experiences, weirdly enough. Because when people are being abducted by aliens, you're only getting the information they want you to get. But when people die and go to the other side, and these were people that are brain dead, their hearts have stopped. Some of these guys have died of cancer and they're healed on the other side, and they come back and they're totally healed, and they've been brain dead for an hour. Not something you could fake, not an hallucination caused by chemicals in the brain. Well, beings tell them all sorts of things. They see past lives, they go to other planets, and sometimes they get some insight into the UFO phenomenon, to the alien abduction phenomenon, and all sorts of related stuff. So, I really do look for the near-death experiences to get insight into a lot of this stuff. And, it's very other dimensional. The dimensions and the densities seem to play a big part in all of this. And I don't pretend to understand it. But yeah, a lot of these beings seem to come from higher dimensions. They are not necessarily flesh and blood beings from our 3D reality. Dick Algier and Dad Smith, they're interacting with that Nordic being that was telling them about the suns being portals, or telling Dick about the suns being portals to the beyond, to the other dimensions. And they also seem to be able to use the suns to hop from star system to star system within this reality. But yeah, and some of them can just phase in and out of this reality. So the dimensions seem to play a huge part in it. These beings, a lot of them, the mantids and so on, are higher dimensional beings from my best evidence, from all the research I've done. And they come here for some reason. And people have different takes and different explanations about what those reasons are. And again, I don't necessarily trust a lot of the information they're given, even on the other side. And, a lot of that is filtered out when they come back. They lose a lot of what they learn when they come back. But yeah, I mean, there's schools of thought that the beings are here to upgrade us and to help us evolve into the, fifth dimensional consciousness and become more in tune with the creator. I like that theory. I like that school of thought. That does tie in with a lot of like reincarnation kind of stuff, which does seem to be a thing, although not necessarily required. We seem to choose to do that. I don't like reincarnation. I've never liked reincarnation. It doesn't sound appealing to me. Once I'm done with this world, I want to go have adventures in the astral realm and the heavens and the cosmos. And, I don't know why anybody would want to come back here. So unless, but then again, in near-death experiences, you get a very different perspective. There was one near-death experiencer who she was a female veteran, and she had died of an explosion. What do they call that? The explosions on the side of the road. Again, I get blank in a live stream. I forget the names of things. So she died, and she's having these experiences on the other side. And when she's coming back, and they're putting her back in her body after she's agreed to go back, and they say, we'll heal you from your wounds, and we can give you any wound you want. And she actually had fun laughing and joking about the wounds she was going to inflict upon herself. and she could choose how she had wanted to die. So that shows they can manipulate reality and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, so, but she was laughing and joking about these fatal wounds or near fatal wounds that she was going to inflict upon herself. And ultimately, I think she was crippled in one arm for the rest of her life, still alive, but something like that, something that she has these ongoing, really bad effects from that bomb. So, but she thought very differently about things on the other side, is my point. And that seems common in a lot of near death experiences. So it's hard to wrap my mind around. And I don't get it. And, that's one reason I keep on going to ayahuasca and trying to, half-assedly to produce a out of body experience. Although I did finally have an out of body experience that was granted to me. I didn't do by that myself. A lot of my experiences, most of them, I did not do myself. I've got some good guides and some good people working for me, working with me, and they've given me some really amazing, life changing experiences. And thank you guys. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. Because I did not achieve those experiences myself. But I would like to learn how to do out of body experiences myself. And maybe I can learn how to do some of that and get some of those answers someday. But Emmanuel says, or excuse me, Adam Ward says there was a photo out of Germany of a wolf band that came out today. Cool. Well, maybe you can drop a link to that in the chat. I would love to see that. I'm fascinated by the dogmen and wolfmen and skinwalkers. It's nuts. In the book Skinwalkers at the Pentagon by George Knapp, James Latatsky, and Colin Kelleher, they were saying there were so many skinwalkers they could even trace the migration pattern of the skinwalkers. And then he didn't reveal any more information about that. I mean, how can you drop that juicy bombshell and not say what you mean by that, what the migration pattern was, what the analysis of that was, why they're migrating, where they're migrating to, what they're doing? How can you just say, yeah, we found so many skinwalkers that we were able to trace the migration pattern of them at Skinwalker Ranch and then in the Uintah Basin? How can you drop that and not give any follow-up, George? Somebody needs to ask George what the hell they were talking about. But yeah, dogmen, wolfmen, skinwalkers, werewolves, they are fascinating to me. Qigong, hey, Qigong and Paradigm says, my channel is superb. Well, thank you so much, guys. Well, y'all are the ones that make it so superb, and I really appreciate that. Emmanuel says, hi, Jack. I watch your videos every day to get up to speed on UFO news. You're becoming the top channel for the latest news. You should have 10 times the subscribers. Well, thank you so much, Emmanuel. I really appreciate that. Or Emmanuel. I don't see an E on the end of the L there. So thank you so much. Appreciate that. And I may or may not have a video for you tomorrow morning. I've got a really busy day tomorrow. I may not be able to have the morning video tomorrow, but we'll see. We'll see. Let's see. I don't want to miss your. Okay, Christian. Let's see. It says it includes many UFO sightings, poltergeist activity, dark winds, surveillance, and black helicopters. I think I've sent you videos privately, yeah, and other things like that, which confuse me. Man, you're not alone, Christian. The hitchhiker phenomenon and the high strangeness of all of this is very confusing and very hard to understand. I wish I understood it, but it's all the woo woo and the high strangeness is all baked into the whole UFO phenomenon. And I know people want it to be simple nuts and bolts stuff. But it doesn't seem to be. When I first started studying it, I thought it was, and I poo-pooed any of the weirdness. I wouldn't even touch Skinwalker Ranch when I first started studying UFOs. But ATIP and ALSAP all led back to Skinwalker Ranch. I eventually had to study it, and that opened the floodgates. That opened the gates for me to study the weirder stuff. And it just got weirder from there. The more I studied UFOs, the weirder and less understandable it got. And yeah, I thought that maybe I could get a grip on it if I studied it enough, but it just got weirder. It just got weirder. And I love it. Love it. But it is very frustrating. It is very frustrating. I would love to actually understand it. Christian says, I wouldn't say I'm infected like the guys in Skinwalker Ranch, but I think I definitely have something similar to the hitchhiker effect. I'm reading your comments out of order, Christian. But Christian says it's not just me, it's my wife, my family, and even neighbors. That is scary, Christian. That is scary. That really is. He says the hitchhiker effect is very strange and it's hard to talk about as an experiencer because of how weird it is. Doesn't sound credible, in my opinion. It sucks. I've never been to Skinwalker, though, so I don't know. Yeah, well, it's certainly not relegated to Skinwalker Ranch. The hitchhiker effect can be from a haunted house. It can be from any paranormal or UFO experience. It's weird. It's hard to understand. There's all this consciousness elements to the phenomenon and paranormal and dimensional stuff that I certainly don't understand. I read about dimensions and different paradigms for spirituality and metaphysics, the densities and the all that stuff. And, it's hard to know which paradigm is right, if any. Is it the Hindu paradigm? Is it the law of one? I know from my own Kundalini awakening that the Hindus knew some stuff. So, because they had mapped that whole thing out that I was experiencing. So, you know, does that mean everything they said and everything they wrote was correct? Probably not. I don't think anybody has a pipeline to the absolute truth, but they knew some stuff. The Law of One also seems to know some stuff. And, the books of Seth, all of that big picture stuff, they all seem to have some of it, right? And if my Jesus experience is anything to go by, then the Christians also have some stuff and are based on something real. And, Christ was all about love and everything, right? So, and that's something that you get from near death experiences. It's all about love. And that's a lot, even alien abduction. Sometimes they'll go there. It's all about love. So, yeah, so that's the good part of it. But the bad part of the phenomenon is the scary shit that you're experiencing. And I'm so sorry that you're experiencing that, Christian. My mom is living in a haunted house right now. And she is a non-believer in all of this, a very stick in the mud. I love you, Mom, but a very square mainstream person all her life. Not religious, not into UFOs, not into any of this woo-woo stuff at all. And she is currently living in a haunted house and experiencing crazy activity that is really unpleasant and terrifying her. And she is thinking about selling her house, but she's worried that it's going to follow her because it may be attached to her. In her previous house, she did have some activity as well, but it was more minor. So this stuff is scary, and I've been very blessed and very lucky to experience some of the positive parts of this stuff. I've only had one real negative experience. I've had some bad journeys in ayahuasca, but that was a totally different experience. That was anyway. DC says, can you explain more about those dragon UFOs? Why are they called dragon UFOs? I must have missed that part. Well, that's because the man that Dr. Robert Scheip that found those things that began that research, he at first thought they were bugs or birds. He thought they were dragonflies. And so he called them dragonflies, but he kept on seeing them. And sometimes they were doing very weird things that couldn't really be explained by being dragonflies. And there's all sorts of crazy videos that he's put up. There's one of my favorites is of a police helicopter that might be shooting at one of these things with an energy weapon. It suddenly dips down, and then another dragon enters the frame and seems to help it. And then it straightens its course and flies correctly. His take on that is that it was shot by an energy weapon from the helicopter, and that the police and the military are aware of these things and that they go after them and try to discourage them. I don't know if that's the case or not, but there are some very compelling videos that he has put out, including, dragons that appear to go behind distant objects, or that can be filmed by multiple cameras. So if that's true, then they're not bugs or birds, because they're going super fast. And the only way you could get that illusion of them going super fast, if it was a bug close to the camera, it could look like it was going super fast, creating that illusion. But clearly, if it's being filmed by two cameras and it can be triangulated and it's far away and it's still going that fast, it's not a bug or a bird, right? And if it's really going behind distant objects like planes or helicopters, again, not a bug or a bird because it's going super fast. You have to look at these in super slow motion, and he has these interpolations of these videos that he's made because they're going so fast. But we need more research on it, right? Some people think, well, there's still a mundane explanation. The two cameras still don't satisfy. The going behind distant objects still don't satisfy because maybe it's just an illusion. Maybe they are going in front of the objects. It's just too dark to tell. So we definitely need more research being done on that phenomenon. It does kind of fit the pattern a little bit because of the massive amount of UFO abductions that seem to be occurring and have occurred for many years. The overwhelming presence of the UFO phenomenon in our world. So it does kind of fit that pattern. If these tiny little UFOs will buzz any airborne object, but again, we do need more researchers doing this, and there are people that are starting to take up that challenge. So I'm really excited to see where the research goes on that in the future. But I myself find his research very compelling, and but I would love to see it corroborated and even enhanced by other researchers. And he would love to get better equipment so that he could have even better research being conducted. And he's put the call out for better equipment, and I hope he gets it. And I hope others, very sophisticated researchers who have, or people who already have that good equipment, are able to do that. Because that's what we really need is some, science people that are doing science to take up that call. Now he is a pharmacist. It's not like he's a layman. And he has got some really nice cameras. He's got a sweet setup. He really does. But we definitely need more eyes on that and more people investigating that phenomenon. If you're just joining me, this is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, please share on social media, and let me know what you think in the chat. And if you're so motivated to support Cosmic Road in these live streams, please consider leaving a super chat. If you leave a super chat, I will get to your question right away. And but I am trying to get to all of them in time. But if you want me to see your question immediately or just want to support the channel, consider leaving a super chat. Let's see. Custom. I'm missing a lot of your comments. Oh, Shalto says, I had the hitchhiker effect after a salvia experience. I got haunted for years, and that's when it started. Oh, yeah. I had a friend that did salvia and had a crazy, trippy experience. That stuff is, I'm honestly scared of salvia. I'll do DMT, I'll do ayahuasca, I'll do peyote, I'll do whatever, but salvia is intimidating to me. I don't know if I want to do that. But Shogun says, as far as I can remember, hybrids either had to do with aliens creating hybrids for mating with humans, or there's that thing that hybrids are used as super soldiers, but that's super woo-woo. Well, hybrids mating with humans, or the beings creating hybrids from human sperm and eggs and mixing it with their own DNA. That definitely seems to be a thing, and that seems to be a huge part of what the abduction phenomenon is about. And if the Rover poll from the 90s is correct, and if 2 to 5, with additional comments by David Jacobs later, if somewhere between 2 and 5% of the world populace is being abducted all the time, continuously throughout the year, throughout their lives, can you imagine the number of hybrids? I mean, just think about that. That's nuts. That's crazy. As far as hybrids being used as super soldiers, I don't have a lot of information about that, but they do have super abilities that are, beyond human abilities. So wouldn't surprise me. But I'm sorry that you had a hitchhiker effect from a salvia experience. That sounds scary. Yeah, like I say, salvia, I'm intimidated by it. I don't think I'm going to do that. James says, where are they from? Where am I from? I'm from Texas. Y'all. I'm from Austin, but I'm currently living in the College Station area. Jay said, I'm in the UK and have seen a green ball with a black rotating cube inside of it, with a strobe flashing from the top of the cube flying around the back gardens of my street. Wow, that's crazy, Jay. Yeah, the cubes in spheres are nuts. or and I think, that was one of the incidents reported by the USS Roosevelt crew, right? The pilots, that were working with Ryan Graves. And, they reported one of those things. And there was a really interesting UFO video that came out about a year ago that, or at least I just came to my attention a year ago. I think it was from a Homeland Security video that showed these three objects in the distance, and you couldn't really see much from the raw footage, but people enhanced that footage, and you can see the three cubes and spheres very clearly. With the cubes are moving in a very jittery, weird motion, and things are kind of moving erratically in the sky. Really great video, and I showed that on the channel. I don't know what the name of it is. It's definitely an older video, but a great case. I don't know anything about the beings behind that phenomenon. If they are beings and they're not drones, or, if you have any insight since you've seen that, please let us know what you think. Custom Boat Screen says, hey, what about Rendlesham Forest? The binary code which downloaded into Sergeant Pendleton's consciousness translated to exploration of humanity over 8100. What's your thoughts? Well, the Rendlesham Forest thing is crazy. I love it. It's a great case. It gets, there seems like there's even more information that are still coming out with Sergeant Pendleton. Some people don't believe him. I do. I believe Sergeant Pendleton. I do believe that he received that download. It all goes back though. Can you trust the information the beings are giving you? And it probably varies from case to case, right? Some of them probably can be trusted and some of them can't. So I hate to even comment on the information that he was given, but it's a fascinating case. And I do believe that he had a genuine experience. And, are his experiences ongoing? Does Jim Pendleton continue to have experiences? I forget offhand. Clue me in on the comments below. Is he an abductee or an ongoing experiencer, or was that just a one-shot deal? Christian says, yeah, it's very strange. From the North Sea coast in England. Qigong Paradigm says improvised explosive device. Yes, that's right. Yeah, IED. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, she died of an IED, and when she came back, they gave her the option of how she wanted to have died, or been grievously hurt, and what after injuries she wanted to experience, and she was able to choose being crippled in the arm, I believe, and she was amused by that when she was in her spirit form. She wasn't amused when she came back. When she, as a human, she did not find that amusing at all. She had to live crippled, and still does for the remainder of her days. But she says when you're on the other side, it's totally different. You think differently. This is strange stuff. There's so many crazy, trippy near-death experiences. I love near-death experiences. It's really after, researching near-death experiences that I began to have my own experiences. People say that elevate your consciousness or put you in touch with stuff, opens you up to stuff. And I think that may be true. Also Reiki also, when I began taking Reiki, I really had, and ever since I quit taking Reiki after I graduated class, became a Reiki master, etc., my experiences have really decreased. So I kind of miss that. I'm thinking about taking Reiki again, just so that I can get back into having more experiences. I don't know. Yeah, I miss having that steady clip of experiences like I was. But I did have my out-of-body experience after I graduated Reiki, and I've had some other experiences as well, but really a lot fewer experiences. Christian says it includes many UFO sightings, poltergeist activities. Okay, I did that one. Larry Gent says, Jack, I would never want to come back. Thank you for saying that. I know, right? With all due respect to this world and this earth, I want to go have some fun on the other side. I want to go party with the higher dimensional beings and go on a pub crawl in the seventh dimension, right? Or go to the gardens of the seventh dimension, and you listen to the flute playing of the Arcturians in the sixth dimension, and go do a Arcturian dance or whatever. Some people think the Arcturians are responsible for the Reiki. I don't know. Hey, Daryl, thank you very much for the super chat. Jack, great show. Would you consider doing these live streams on a regular day and time? Yes, Daryl, and thank you for that. I appreciate that. And yes, I need to do that. I am a writer. I'm a novelist. I'm not an organized individual, unfortunately. Yeah, I do try to keep a steady rate up with the videos on the channel, and I need to have a more organized approach to live streams. You're absolutely right to call me out on that, and I aim to do that. I aim to do that. Yeah. But thank you very much for the super chat, and you have a great point, and thank you for the nudge. I appreciate it because I do need to do that. I have never historically been a very organized person. Yeah. My mom, back when I was growing up, she would, she was not pleased by how I conducted myself. Fortunately, my wife is a little bit more organized, but she's a scientist. But I do. Let's see. Here we go. DC says we appreciate your channel. We'll check out every post you make. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Serenity says psychedelic states can be reached through meditation as well, just letting go and becoming the moment. Absolutely, Serenity, and I would love to achieve that. And I kind of need to talking about being organized. That's probably why I haven't really done meditation in the way that I should. Is just because that requires some organization. I have to commit to doing that at a certain time every day and doing it in a certain way, but I need to do that. And I think that if I did that regularly, the experiences that I was having would return in a bigger way. Adam says we live along the Suwannee River and have hundreds of owls that come at 9 at night. They have a creepy call, and sometimes it sounds odd. That does sound odd. Do you think there is something supernatural or alien about that? And JD says they gave us tech in exchange. Yeah, I think they probably did. And that seems to be that it's hard to say for sure, because all of that exists behind a veil, and we don't know much about what comes out of there. And some of that is what goes on behind the veil of secrecy of the control group. Some of that is probably disinformation, but some of it is doubtlessly real. And yes, I think we're working with the beings, and they give us tech, and we assist them in abductions and allow them to carry out abductions. It's alarming. It's alarming, but we don't know what the end game is. I like to think that maybe there's a positive end game, and maybe the control group isn't as evil as they seem, but they seem pretty evil, and they seem like they've done some pretty shady stuff. Could it be an example of the ends justifying the means? I don't know, because the means are pretty dark. So it's hard to excuse any of that. But we might need some measure of clemency, just to allow disclosure to happen. We may need to forgive people in a legal sense, amnesty, so they can come forward. But people have committed murder and all sorts of horrible things. It's hard to not prosecute that, right? But at the same time, if we don't give these control group people amnesty, how are they ever going to allow disclosure, right? Unless we can forcibly pry, open the chinks of the armor of the control group and get access to that. Can Congress do that? How much of Congress is not corrupted enough to do that? I don't know. The control group is pretty strong and pretty powerful. So, yeah, I don't know. So I think that we may have to offer them an incentive to pony up, but I don't know. Jay says I was taken while walking my dog's yards from the house. I had 40 minutes of missing time, but felt I had been gone for 24 hours. Wow. Well, I've heard many times about how they can manipulate time and they can actually take people outside of space and time as we know it, even into another dimension. Deep Prasad, Whitley Strieber have both talked about being taken to a deeper layer of reality. So that seems to be a thing. Um, that the beings come from another dimension and they can take us there, and they can take us outside of this reality that we know. Have you ever thought about getting hypnotically regressed to find out what happened during those 40 minutes? Or do you want to? Because I know some people that have been taken, they don't want to know. And I've heard examples from other people where they were regressed and they regretted it because it was traumatic. But I've also heard other examples where they, remembered learning about their chakras and stuff. So, positive things. So I don't want to give any advice on that. Just showing both sides of regression. I don't know if I would want to be regressed, honestly, because if it was traumatic, I don't know if I would want to remember. Sholto says, okay, I thought you meant Scotland. I live near RNAD, Coalport in Scotland, or where they keep nukes. And I've seen UAP flying over there. Interesting. I want to know more about that. Nukes in Scotland and UFOs. I love it. What is going on there? Let's see. Serenity says ET don't want us to crack the planet. It's happened before with the asteroid belt. Yeah, that's true. There's been the planet has been destroyed and reshaped. Billions of years ago, whatever, by impacts. We got a super chat. Okay, cool. Let's see. Shogun says, I feel they can't do disclosure at all because the questions would never stop. Bad, especially if government admits aliens have abducted Americans without consent. Yeah, right. And if they've assisted in those abductions, if they're complicit in abductions, how could they ever admit that? I mean, if we gave them blanket amnesty, maybe, but I mean, how could you give amnesty for that? I mean, oh my God. But on the other hand, if you don't give amnesty, what is their incentive for coming out? I think there probably are some people in the control group that would like to disclose, but they're amnesty but exile. Yeah, I can see that. That's actually not a bad solution. Random content, I like that. Christian says, talk about Peru. I don't think it's humans, but a lot of people think it is. Why? Why doesn't the CIA pick on, I don't know, terrorists, prisoners, or something like that instead of innocent civilians? Yeah, man. What the hell is going on in Peru? I don't know. If you're just joining me, this is Jack with Cosmic Road. Please hit like, please subscribe, share on social media. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you're so motivated to support the channel and these live streams, consider leaving a super chat. I'll get to your comment right away. But yeah, what the hell is going on in Peru? I am fascinated by Peru. And of course, it's not just in Peru. It's been going on in Brazil and other places as well. There was the UFO attack on the munitions base in Argentina that I reported on in a live stream a couple of months ago or so. And this has been going on for years in that part of the world in South America. For how long, we don't know. They have a long history of the phenomenon. I'm not aware of face peeling or whatever being part of that history. However, with these particular features, the luminous beings that fly, that have UFOs, the potential, attacks and mutilations. I'm not aware of that being part of the phenomenon that is associated with South America. But they definitely have a long history of the phenomenon, and their culture goes back quite a ways. I was about to do, I was inspired by the Y-Files, talking about the LiDAR scans in Guatemala, finding the, cities, the ancient cities, like 1,000 or 1,500 BC, whatever they were. There were these sophisticated cities with either causeways or potentially even highways connecting these cities over a broad area, deeper in the Amazon or the Guatemalan rainforest in that area. So, did they have high technology? Were they in touch with the beings? I don't know, but my shaman in ayahuasca said that there was a gift from the gods that used to dwell there. And when those gods decided to leave, the people said, "Hey, what are we going to do without you?" And the gods gave them Mother Aya. And this is your connection to us, to source, to the phenomenon. Could those vanished gods have been citizens of this high culture that vanished? Maybe an Atlantis-like culture where they were in touch with UFOs and aliens and higher dimensionals and other sources of information. I don't know, but it's possible that their connection to the phenomenon has gone back that long or longer. Then there's more recent stuff like the Coneheads. We don't know how long the Coneheads or the elongated skull people were there. A lot of those seem to have been human that bound their skulls, but some of those humans came from Scotland. At least half of their DNA was from Scotland, in South America with elongated skulls. So, again, hinting at Atlantis or some global high civilization that used to live there. Could they have arrived at that without technology or non human intervention or help? Maybe, but it's a lot easier to understand with ET technology or help. So, yeah, so South America has a seemingly long history with the phenomenon. And now they have this dark stuff that's going on with the attacks. Is that the phenomenon? Are those ETs? I don't think so. I really don't. I mean, maybe it is. Maybe I'm wrong. They definitely have high technology. They can't be explained by human technology. They're bouncing around like popcorn. They've got UFOs. They're doing all sorts of things, but they're bungling, right? They're messing things up. They are, people are getting away from them. They're hurting people and they're getting away. People are suffering radiation burns after encountering them without any actual result occurring from these interactions. There are possibly some deaths that have been associated with these events. So that could be the reason to accomplish these deaths and doing whatever they did to those people to arrive at those deaths. Mutilations, human mutilations, face peeling, whatever the hell is going on. So that could be a motivation if we understood what those humans or non-humans were doing to those bodies, if indeed those bodies, if those deaths resulted from these interactions, these murders, these possible mutilations. um, it's we don't know. We don't have enough information. So I can't tell you, Christian. I wish I knew. Some of the locals think that it's organ harvesting. I guess that is a possible motivator, that it's money is the motivator, but we don't see a lot of examples of that, right? There are a few deaths, maybe, but this is over a wide region. And there may be some disappearances that we're not hearing about, where some of the organ harvesting may have, these people may have been disappeared and their organs taken, right? So we're still in the fog of war on all of this. There seems to be a cover up of information going on down there, trying to tell us it's all miners and jetpacks. So there's disinformation going on. There is a suppression of information. So we don't really know what the hell is going on down there. I would love to know your thoughts, though. Christian, everybody else, what do you think is going on in Peru? Are they humans? I tend to think they're humans with high tech doing something, but it's for no explicable purpose. I have a hard time believing that it could be organ harvesting. If you've got UFOs, do you really need to pick up extra change with organ harvesting? You could do just about anything with a UFO. You could take over a country. You could have a courier service. You could get, from one continent to another in the blink of an eye. Think of the change you could pick up with a courier service, right? Put FedEx out of business. You could, maybe you don't want to disclose yourself and you don't want to be overt with your technology, but surely there are other ways you can make money other than organ harvesting with that technology. So I don't quite buy that explanation, but hey, maybe. Hecklefish, lizard people, I love it. Love the Y-Files. Great channel, great show. Coleopterus says, talk about the Tic Tac UFO from the Nimitz. And the Lonnie Zamora sighting is great. Love that. I've already talked about the Tic Tac, and other people have talked about that a lot. But one of our best cases, one that cannot be debunked. I love it. It is a fantastic case. And that's why when people give Lou Elizondo crap and say he's a disinfo agent, well, I mean, Lou, I mean, you can think what you like, but Lou can't be debunked. He really can't. What he primarily did was tell the world about ATIP. You can't disprove ATIP. You can't debunk ATIP. And also tell the world, give the world those 3 videos, including the Tic Tac. So, and you can't debunk all 3 of those videos. Maybe the go fast, maybe that has a prosaic explanation, maybe, but you can't debunk the other 2. I mean, what the gimbal, that was a fleet of UFOs that they were seeing. Yeah. So you can't debunk Lou, but the Tic Tac is a great case. Have I ever heard of High Brazil? Yeah. High Brazil is great, and it goes all with the Atlantis stuff and everything. Fascinating stuff. Love it. I don't know, I don't know too much about High Brazil, or if it's connected to the phenomenon, or how connected it is. Adam says, look up Rebecca Rose. Very interesting story. She talks about Dulce Base and U.S. Navy and their partnership with the Greys and the Draconians. Okay, I'll have to check out Rebecca Rose. Sounds very interesting. Shalto says, the Peru UFO vid you showed us the other day was awesome. Looked just like that CE5 event near the ocean with the huge beams of light coming from the sky. Wish I could find that video. Yeah, I mean, there's some crazy stuff happening in Peru and all over South America. Some of it's pretty scary, but they do have some positive stuff as well. My voice is starting to go give out on me. I may have to call this short in the near future. So if you have any burning questions, be sure to give me a super chat so that I'll see your question so that I can get to it in the next few minutes before I time out for the evening. But High Brazil is great. El Dorado, ancient cities. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, when they find those lidar imagery and those lidar scans of the jungle in the Amazon, really makes me think of El Dorado, and maybe there was really something to that. Those lost cities that some of those early explorers were finding. Ben says, I've been getting massive lag while watching the stream, and it's now unbearable. Oh man, I'm sorry about that. Could you make the stream rewatchable so I can download it? It should be rewatchable, Ben. It should be rewatchable. So I hope you're able to do that. And I'm sorry you're having that lag. Daryl says, if you were Santa Claus, this technology, yeah, right. Santa could really use a UFO. I mean, he could go outside of space and time. Would Baxter considering becoming Hecklecat? Hey, that reminds me, Baxter's outside. I put him outside so he wouldn't bother me when I was doing the live stream. He wanted to go outside, but it's probably time to check on him. My wife went to HEB and to go out shopping. So it's probably time I went to check on him. Let's see. Troy says, hey, Troy, is organ harvesting meant to harvest adrenochrome and use for cult practices? Well, that is a thought, right? So if organ harvesting isn't for monetary benefit, because that's actually a really great point, Troy. It's something I've overlooked. So bring him Baxter, right? Well, I've got to go bring him in. I got to go open the door. I got to get up and move. But yeah, the adrenochrome thing, that's scary stuff, right? And it could be real. I mean, there's definitely some compelling there's a compelling case for that all being real, and for also that playing a part in cattle mutilations. Hey, Shalto, buy Baxter some dreamies on me. Thank you very much, Shalto. I sure will. I don't know what a dreamy is, but I'm assuming that's a kitty treat. But I'll go get him. I'll go get him in a minute. Daryl says, burning question. Yeah, okay. Well, what do you have a burning question? But thank you very much for the super chat. Love it. But yeah, the adrenochrome thing is scary. And, is that why they're taking cattle? Is that why they're mutilating cattle? Because they do seem to focus often on the adrenal system and taking glands and organs related to that, right? So that seems to be a part of that. I couldn't say for sure. We did our MUFON, or yeah, I guess I can say that. Our MUFON team did a remote viewing of the cattle mutilations that were occurring here locally in Madison County, which is near where I am in the Brazos Valley. And they were interacting with the Nordics who were performing those mutilations, according to those remote viewers. And those Nordics were saying they were just here for sustenance. Is that true? Is that not true? I don't know. I don't know. But let's see. Christian says Lou Elizondo said in Theories of Everything that part of the secrecy is because they are worried that transparency would trigger a response from the phenomenon. What if that's a warning? Possibly. Yeah, that's Lou says some stuff that makes you wonder, right? Do we really want a disclosure? Is that going to trigger a response? I don't know. I do think that we're unlikely to have disclosure until the phenomenon wants us to have it. If the phenomenon wanted us to have disclosure, boom, we'd have it, right now, right? They do seem to, there are signs they are generally, pushing us or guiding us gently toward disclosure. And that is one reason why they reveal themselves in fantastic UFO displays sometimes, like the Phoenix Lights, is to gently nudge us in that direction. Saying, hey, look at us here. You can't explain this, can you? So, to expand our consciousness, to get us to look into the sky and gradually become aware that there is something going on there. And I think there's something to that. I really do. I think there's something to that. So I don't think we're going to have disclosure, full UFO disclosure until the phenomenon okays it. Could disclosing early provoke a negative reaction? It's possible. It's totally possible, and it's a great question. I wish I had an answer. I wish I knew what Lou meant by that. But yeah, he's mum. We'll see it. We'll see if he becomes more forthcoming. Anthony says, do you think as our technology evolves, phones get better, there will be more and better UFO videos, bringing us closer to full disclosure? Absolutely, definitely 100%. On the other hand, 100% we're going to get more fakes, right? When a random person can get some CGI and make a UFO, which is pretty much where we're at right now, we're going to get, but even better than it is now. It's going to be hard to separate what's real from what's not. And we're going to have to rely more and more on old videos from the 70s and 80s and earlier. Hey, Daryl, thank you. Thank you for your channel. It's my first stop every log into YouTube to see what's new and interesting. Thank you, Daryl. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Ice Cereal says, ignore me harder. Well, I did not mean to ignore you. Let me see. What is your comment? I certainly don't want to ignore anybody. But Icereal says blank ammunition cartridges. Okay, all right. Yeah, but they can produce fatalities. Okay, I don't know what that meant. But I did not mean to ignore you. Serenity says but there are trolls that will say things on the channel about how to produce fatalities, and so that when I first saw that, that's where my mind went, and I blocked those people. Serenity says when single shines the triple sun, what was sundered and undone shall be whole, the two made one by Gelfling hand or else by none. Is that the Dark Crystal? I love it. By Gelfling, it's got to be Dark Crystal, right? Let's see. What is my favorite movie about aliens and UFOs? Well, I'm an 80s guy. I was born in 76. I grew up on all the 80s movies. The favorite alien movie is, of course, Aliens by James Cameron. Love that movie. But it's a scary movie. If you want a more optimistic movie, Contact with Jodie Foster. Or E.T. or something like that. Definitely more optimistic. Close Encounters of the Third Time, a great movie. Love that movie. But I'm a horror guy and a sci-fi guy. I grew up on all the scary stuff. I love the scary stuff. Although I tend to watch less of it these days because I don't want to invite it. But I do. I still love horror movies. Christian says Kalar is 77, but it's been happening for a long time after that, but no one thought they were credible. So I disagree. The phenomenon is darker in South America, bottom line. it does seem to be a Christian. It does seem to be. There's some. I mean, there are. I think there are some encouraging signs in South America and some positive stuff that has happened there historically. But what's happening right there right now is really dark. And you're right. Going back to Clara's and probably before, some pretty dark shit's going down there. Why? I wish we knew. I wish we knew. We need some answers. We need some. That's why we need disclosure, right? We need the government to seriously investigate this stuff and to give us answers and to let us know what they know. But we need official UFO disclosure for that to happen. Because you're right, Christian, there's some serious shit going down, and people are being hurt by this and killed by this. And we need to know what the hell's going on and what reality we are living in. It's affecting us. It's killing us. It's taking us. It's abducting us. So yeah, what the hell, right? We deserve answers. We deserve official, real disclosure. The secrecy is bullshit. Totally agree. Totally agree. WM Industry says, I think we must look at their biology to understand where they come from. If they're from a different dimension, then why are their eyes? Then why are their eyes so different? Basic biology shows us more light receptors, so they must be from somewhere darker, possibly underwater or underground, or a planet farther away from their home star. I think biology shows us a lot. Yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely look at biology, look at what genetics we can, the autopsy reports that have been revealed by, there was a great Reddit post talking about the genetics of these things that I've talked about before that may have come from Oak Ridge or Battelle in the control group. And, the day after Roswell, there's a whole chapter about alien autopsies. Alexander says, I'll get Hestelin to send you some info on the Hestelin phenomenon. Okay, sounds good, man. Or invite Leto. Oh, is that what he went there to find out? Was he investigating, or is he still there investigating the Hestelin phenomenon? Okay, maybe that's why it's ringing a bell. Yeah, well, I can't wait to find out more about what he's been doing and finding out. Serenity says, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Absolutely. Let's see. Daryl says the movie Paul is the best alien movie. Yeah, that's a fun one. Oh yeah, the Predator. That's a great alien movie. Yeah, that's a badass movie. They Live. Yeah, that's a great movie. Catkin says, I try not to think about Nick West. I know, right? He's the real villain. But yeah, all right. Well, thank you guys. I think I'm going to call it that night, guys. But thank you so much for joining me. This has been a lot of fun. I'm going to try to make these a regular thing. Yeah, so if you haven't hit like or subscribe, I would love it if you did that. And I'll catch you on the next time. And again, thank you all for joining me. It's been a blast. And yeah, I'll catch you on the next one.